Meantime, China right now. Now, will they, won't they, is about whether or not Anthony Albanese will or won't end up having a meeting formally with the Chinese. Now, there was a cocktail reception where the Chinese were at the ASEAN meeting and they sort of bumped into each other and said, g'day, mate, g'day, mate. Don't say anything, move on, right? Well, there's a chance that there could end up being a meeting at the G20 or a phalanx of other meetings that happen in the next little while. It's called summit season. How exciting, right? But guess what? Now, I don't have a problem at all that Anthony Albanese has said that one of the things that China needs to do is to lift its trade sanctions. It's exactly what they do have to do. If that's the reason he didn't get a first-hand meeting, well, then bugger China. If he ends up getting a meeting with China, I hope this is what they talk about, and the Uyghurs, the slave labour, all the rest of it. But it's Penny Wong that I wanted to talk about tonight, because the Foreign Minister has said that we need a bipartisan effort when it comes to China diplomacy. Put simply, no more politics, which means no more attacking, which means no more calling out, which means just softly, softly, which is exactly what we talked about months and months ago. That while I can't fault Labor's position on China to this point, it is nowhere near what I feared it would be. This is what I feared. What I feared was, let's do it softly, softly, eventually thaw things out with China, but don't criticise us along the way. The reality is that we have a system in this country where the opposition is allowed to criticise and you, the citizen, are allowed to shake your head at Australia and its relationship with China. Here's what the Foreign Minister had to say.
And while countries in the region do not want to submit to a hegemonic power, they have also been clear that they do not seek to pick sides in a geostrategic contest, and insisting they do only risks re-enlivening colonial resentments to our detriment. Instead, my focus is building alignment to help shape outcomes in ways that support our collective interest. And our collective interest is that we will always be better off in a world where the rules are clear, mutually negotiated and consistently followed.
But many of the international bodies that all of those things represent, China doesn't actually play a part in. And if it does have control over things like the United Nations, it's able to get away with pretending it's a developing country, which means it can pollute 30% of the world when it comes to CO2 because it's a developing country, but it has a space station and it's threatening to take over Taiwan, and they've hosted 2 Olympic Games in the past 25 years, but nothing to see here. And as soon as you hear the word colonialism being dropped around, Australia blew up at the Solomon Islands because they ended up doing a deal with China. The answer of the Labor Party to that deal was to say, we'll pay for your elections, we'll pay for the delay in those elections, we'll even send weapons to your police to take on your unarmed citizenry. But nothing to see here. Colonial powers, please. What garbage.